Hi guys, my name's Deb Marnie and I'm from Aussie Mail. Welcome to our chainmail tutorial channel. Hey guys, big hi, hello, welcome, how are you? I'm so pleased to see you. Thanks for popping in and spending some of your day with me. So today I'm doing the first of the kits from our May Mail Club subscription box. That's a little bit of a mouthful. It's a necklace and I hope you enjoy it. So let's get to it. Okay guys, so here's a sample piece of our shader necklace. Now it's a little difficult to show off with this camera, but I will do my best. So it uses the weaves Inverted Aura and the Byzantine diamond weaves. So coming up on the screen now are a list of rings and components that are used to make this piece up. They'll also be listed down in the description section for those that want to check them out there. But as you can see, it's a nice, delicate little necklace. Okay, so as this necklace is made up of unit pieces, I'm going to show you how to do the individual units first, and then how I went about joining them all together. So the first unit I'm going to demonstrate is this slight variation of the Inverted Aura unit. So you will need to do a total of 5 of these units to make this particular necklace. So what you'll need to do is you'll need to pre-close 2 of the largest rings, the 7.5mm ID rings. Pre-close 1 of the 5.25mm ID rings, and ideally what you're looking for here is that smaller ring to sit inside the larger ring quite comfortably. Okay, so once you've got those closed, we're actually going to then take up our 18 gauge 4.5mm ID rings, our smallest rings, hook it through all 3 of those rings and close that up. And we're going to do that for, so we've got 6 of these rings coming off our center rings. Okay. So if you guys just want to go ahead and put those 6 rings onto your pre-closed center rings. And then I can show you the next step. Alright, so there we are. We've got our 3 pre-closed rings in the center and our 6 smaller rings on the outside. So what you want to do now is take up the 7mm ID rings. I'm going to open one of those up. And then this is where it starts to get a little tricky. We want to take out 2 of our 4.5mm ID rings. We want to feed our large ring. We want to go in between the large rings that are in the center there, and we'll need to be behind, obviously, either behind or in front of that smaller ring that sits right in the center. It doesn't really matter which way you put it in, as long as you stay consistent with where you place this ring. So it just goes in between those rings there, picking up that 1 ring there on the side, and then we bring that back up, and we want to pick up the ring on the other side as we come back up out through the top of our rings. Okay, so that our work looks like this. So our large ring that we just placed is sandwiched between the 2 large rings that are in the middle. And we want to do that all the way around. So we go to the next pair of rings, small rings. Now this time you need to make sure that you've got that smallest ring there right in the middle, sitting on the same side of your ring. So you don't want your next ring, you don't want to be holding it like this and putting it down in front of it. You can see here that if we're holding it this way, it needs to go in behind that ring. So that where you place the large ring in position to the center ring needs to be consistent. Okay, so again, Go to your next loose pair of smaller strings. Separate out one each side. I know this is a little fiddly. We come from the top down, in between those two large rings, pick up that small ring there on one side, bring our ring back up out of the middle of those large rings, picking up the other small ring on the other side. Okay, so it sits like this. And we close that up. And then you can see we've got one more set of small loose rings left. So we want to do the same for that one. We separate those out so that it sits one on each side of our ring as best we can. There's a little less room, obviously, because we've got all the others in place. We want to bring this ring down from the top, in between the large rings in the middle. We come down and we pick up this ring here on our right through the top, and then we bring that ring back up out of our middle of our large rings. Okay, and we scoop up the ring there on the left. So I'll just show that again just in case, because I know it's a bit fiddly and I'm trying to keep my thumbs out of the way. Put the small loose rings that we've got left over, one on each side of our piece. We come down through the top. We're coming down through the top into our weave. We're coming in between the large rings that are there in the center. As we come down in between those, we pick up the ring, the small ring on the right. Okay, we then want to bring our large ring back up so that it comes out of the center. And when we do that, we pick up the small ring on the left. We go from the bottom up. And we close that up. Okay, and that is what the unit looks like. If you're having difficulty seeing that, I do have the standard version of this in another video. I'll link it up here in the corner for you. It doesn't include that ring right there in the center, but otherwise the technique is exactly the same. So once you've repeated this 4 more times so that you've got a total of 5 of these units, set these aside and we will work on the Byzantine diamonds next. Okay, so we're going to work on the Byzantine diamond sections next. So to do that, take up the 18 gauge 6.5mm ID rings, and we want to put a total of 8 of our 3.5mm ID rings. Now you can pre-close these rings if you like, these small rings. I'm just putting them on straight out of the bag, so you can see that they're still open. I'm just going to pop that on there and close this ring up. I'm then going to feed a second 6.5mm ID ring through all 8 of those rings that I've just placed on there. Making sure you don't accidentally Mobius that second ring. It's quite easy to do. And then once I've got my large rings there, I'm going to go back and I'm going to pre-close these, because remember, I just popped these on straight out of the bag. I'm sorry, I'm going to go and close them. If you pre-close them, then obviously you don't need to do this step. But if, like me, if you've just dropped them on straight out of the bag, you'll need to go ahead now and close those up. So I'll do that now. And then once that's done, I'll be able to show you the next step. We have done Byzantine diamond in many pieces before. I'll put a couple of links up here throughout this to show you some of our other project ideas that we've used the Byzantine diamond for. It's a very versatile unit, and I'm sure you'll enjoy learning it and using it. Okay, so I've got all of those rings closed, and what I'm going to do now, I'm going to take up another 3.5mm ID ring, and I'm going to feed it through just two of my rings there. I'm going to close that up, and I'm going to double that up. Okay, and then once I've got that doubled, I'm going to take up another ring. I'm going to go through the next pair of loose rings, and I'm going to do the same. So you'll need to do that all the way around your piece until you've got 4 small pieces of 2-2 chain coming off your center large chain, center large rings. So you guys go ahead and do that, and then once that's done, I can show you the next step. So nearly there, I've got one more. Okay. Okay. So your work should look like this, with your 2 large rings in the center and your 4 small pieces of 2-2 chain coming off. So what we want to do now is we want to separate one of those chains out, grip your piece where the large ring is, and we're going to want to flip those rings back here. Okay, one on each side. We're going to take those rings all the way back and pinch them against that middle ring. It needs to sit against the middle ring. Don't let those rings slip down too far, because what we want to do is we want to put our next ring through this little gap that you can see here. Okay, these rings are quite small, so hopefully you guys can see that okay. All right, our next ring goes through that gap there. I will put a as I said, some videos up here. I will include a basic Byzantine one as well, so that you guys who have never done Byzantine perhaps may want to do that one first. So I'm going to take another opened ring, another 3.5mm ID ring, and I'm going to slip it through that space there, making sure I pick up both of those rings that we flipped back. And once I've done that, I'm going to close that up, and I'm going to place a second ring through that exact same path. Okay, so that I've just doubled that ring up, and you can see now that we've got a half Byzantine unit coming off our center rings. So we need to do that for all of our chains, guys. So if you want to go ahead and do that now, convert all our small pieces of chain into half Byzantine units, and then once you've done that, I can meet you back here and I'll show you what the next step is. So there you go, guys. There's our our piece so far. This is what it should look like. So our center rings with 4 of our half Byzantine units coming off. So what we want to do now is we want to join each of these units to each other. And to do that, we're going to join this ring here and this ring here. So let's see if I can get that closer without blurring. So these 2 rings here on this piece and these 2 rings here on this piece, they're the ones that we're going to join. So I'll show you what that looks like. So take up another 3.5mm ID ring. So we go through those 2 rings on one unit and then through corresponding rings on the next unit, and we close that up. And we want to do that all the way around our unit. Okay, so we go to the next 2 rings that are left over here on this unit. We pick that one up, and we pick up the corresponding 2 rings in our new unit. Okay, just like that. We close that up. We move our work around, and we keep repeating that all the way around. So through those 2 rings that are left over on that unit there, through the corresponding rings on our new unit, close that up, and then we've just got these 2 halves left over here. So again, take up another ring and join it up. Okay, so there's your Byzantine diamond. At this stage, it's totally up to you. I'm going to go through and I'm going to go double those points. It does help tighten everything up a little bit. And I like to double them up because, you know, with Byzantine you usually double all your rings. So I just like to keep it nice and consistent. But that's totally your call, guys. So I'm just going to go through and double all those points. As I said, it will stop them from flapping around a little bit too much. If you wanted to put a little bit of colour into your Byzantine diamond, you could use the 18 gauge 9/64 rings here instead of the 3.5. Just the 18 gauge 9/64 instead of 18 gauge 3.5, and that way you can introduce a little bit of colour into your work. But there you go, guys, that's the Byzantine diamond. You'll need to create 2 of these to complete the necklace, so if you go ahead and finish the second one, and when you get back here, I'll just show you how I put it all together. Okay, so to join all these pieces together, what you want to do is start with your centerpiece, which is one of the inverted aura segments. Okay, and then to that, one on each side. So we want to hold it like this. So we've got our 2 large rings at the top, 1 small ring down the bottom, and each of those large rings, you can see that I have attached a Byzantine diamond. The attachment rings are the 18 gauge 3.5mm rings, the same rings that I made the Byzantine diamond with. So I've attached a diamond to one side. To the diamond, I've then attached an inverted aura, using that single point just like that. And then I used some manufactured chain. Now this is just stainless steel Rollo chain, 3mm links, ID, I'm assuming that's ID, I'm not 100% sure, 3mm links. And what I did, let's see, these pieces are about 7 centimeters in length. And then the longer pieces are about 11 centimeters in length. But obviously you can change that to suit how the necklace sits. You would normally want this to sit sort of around on the collarbone. But you can make that change up to you. But as I said, this sort of sits around about on the collarbone, and this one hangs down. So what I did to attach that was I just opened back up these rings here slightly and slipped my chain onto that. If your chain is too small to do that, if you haven't got a chain with the same link size as I have, you can always use perhaps your 3.5mm or whatever it is that you need to fit through your chain to attach it. So I've got one going off each of the large rings there, going up to another inverted aura unit. I've turned this one around the other way so that it's got the 2 rings facing each other, joined those, and then attached the longer piece to the point, and to that using the standard ring that I use for attachment. This is a 16 gauge AWG 3.5mm ID ring. Again, you could use the 18 gauge 3.5 if you prefer to have the smaller ring. I just like these slightly stronger rings here at the end of the clasp, totally up to you. So I've used that to attach the clasp, and I've done the same on the other side with just a single ring for the clasp to attach onto. So you just need to mirror the other side so that it looks exactly the same. And then once I did that, I took up my teardrop and I attached that to the bottom link of my middle inverted aura section. And again, I just attached that with the standard 16 gauge 3.5mm ID ring. You can put that drop in or you can take it out, totally up to you. I quite like it either way, but that's just a personal preference. So yeah, just construct your necklace like this. So again, I'll just go through it. Inverted aura, Byzantine diamond, inverted aura, some chain, inverted aura, and some more chain. It's really quite a simple design, but it's I find it very delicate, very feminine, very open design. I quite like the feel of it. Alright guys, well that's it. That's the tutorial for today. I hope you enjoyed it and that you love your little necklace. If you did enjoy it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up here. Share the video on social media if you like. If you have any comments or questions, drop them down below the video in the comments section. Check out some of our other videos that we've got while you're here. Subscribe if you're not a subscriber, and last but definitely not least guys, don't forget our little shop link up here in the corner. Go give it some love. That's where you'll find all the bits and bobs and you know what's that you're going to need to make up this particular necklace and many of our other tutorials. Alright guys, thanks once again for popping in and saying hello, and I will catch up with you again in the very near future. Bye.